One day you are fine, and the next day your body isn't. Hi, I'm Michelle Eberwein from Turning Pain into Strength podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm bringing you Karen's story. She started out having migraines in her childhood, and into adulthood, life brought a whole new set of challenges. Her journey shows how much strength life can demand from you and what it takes to keep going. This is Karen Duncan's story.
Good morning.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
Not too bad at all, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. I really appreciate you coming on my podcast, especially being a little new and telling about your experience and then where you are today.
Mhm. Um, yeah, well, I'm one of these people. I've always kind of had some illness or another, often something mysterious. And
Okay.
like when I was about 7, I started to have migraines, and I had no frame of reference. And I remember saying to my dad, "It's like everything's a video game," because my vision went blurry, and I saw these little blinky things. And
How old were you?
about 7. So
7. Okay.
so yeah, my dad, it wasn't that he didn't believe me, but my aunt has migraines and they were hugely debilitating. It's like, oh, I'm sure it's not migraine. Maybe it's a headache. Maybe you need glasses, which it turned out I did. So,
Yeah.
but it didn't solve the problem. And it ended up that when I was about 11, I was taking, I think you call them Tylenol 3 in the States,
Yes.
which are not painkillers for children, really.
Right.
Um, so I sort of went to my doctors and said, "But is there anything that can be done?" And they said, "Oh, well, you're nearly a teenager. It might be hormonal." It's like, yeah, it could be.
Mhm.
And then years later, I found out I had polycystic ovaries. So
Wow.
probably was with hindsight, but
Yeah.
again, no frame of reference for that at 11, 12. So
Sure.
it's it was a thing, and it probably wasn't until I got to university actually that something was really done about it, because it was like, do these painkillers work? Sort of, and
Mhm.
it's like, well, we'll go with that. And
Sure.
at that point, it was occasional enough that I could manage it. Although one of my big English exams when I was about 16, because we have exams at different times over here, I couldn't see the exam paper. And I
Wow.
ended up writing an essay based on keywords that I could read. And I was
Mhm.
sort of holding the paper like that so I could see enough to write. And it was, and yeah, people have said since, "Oh, well, why didn't you tell them about it so you could get, something done?" And I said, well, how could I have proved it? That's the
Right.
thing. But I
Right.
mean,
You
that
can't
was,
see it.
well, that's the thing. It's not like there's a test, even if they did an MRI scan at that moment, they couldn't necessarily tell how it was going to affect me or whatever else. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I ended up with an A star. So, which probably says more about my blagging skills than anything else. But yeah, it's one of those live and learn things that, again, you kind of, you just get on with it, because it's like,
Mhm.
I mean, I could have put my hand up and said, I can't read the paper and I'm not going
Right.
to take my English exam, but
Mhm.
I I don't know what they would have done about that. I might have had to retake the whole
Right.
thing. And it's just like, do you know what? I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Which may not have been the best decision, but at 16, I was like, it'll be fine. You don't need to read
Sure.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it probably would have helped. So I've
Yes.
sort of had these migraines,
Mhm.
and I finally saw a specialist in my 20s, basically through sheer luck, because there's a lot of migraine specialists near where I live,
Okay.
and there's like a special migraine clinic and stuff like that. So I had access to treatments and things that I probably wouldn't have had in other parts of the country or possibly even the
Sure.
world. So I started to have Botox treatment. I'm trying not to be too evangelical because I know you can, it's like it works for me, it'll work for you, try it, but it
Right.
won't necessarily. And I've had people try it with me and said, oh, have you tried drinking water? And it's like, yes, I've tried drinking water.
Yes, I've done yoga, I've taken
Yeah,
Tylenol,
yeah.
and I drank water.
Yeah. Did not cure, but yeah, I tried the Botox and it did really help.
Oh, good.
It's sort of the idea is that you can't, when you're in pain, you kind of frown, that migraine look, when you kind of go, "Arr," and it makes it worse. So the idea is because you can't, it's sort of along the hairline, because you can't sort of do that frowny thing, it sort of takes the edge off. It's kind of like, oh, this is all right, actually, this is kind of manageable. And it was,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, and things sort of got a lot better for a while, and until I caught COVID, which was where things went wrong. It was I think it was either 1 or 2 days out of lockdown, and I caught COVID, and I missed my friend's wedding. It was all a big deal, but I said, I'm not going to risk going to a wedding and spreading this to everyone.
Sure.
Absolutely not. And I found that it was everyday things I could do before I couldn't. So I used to walk to and from my work, which is about 45 minutes.
Wow.
And we're very much more set up for walking, I think, over here. So it's probably not such a big of a deal as it would be. I know, sort of in a big city, walking 45 minutes probably might not
Yes.
even be an option. But yeah, I couldn't do it anymore. And I found even getting up the stairs, because my timetable at work meant I was in the basement in the morning and
Okay.
on the fourth floor in the evening, because of course. And I'd go up 2 flights of stairs and I'd be like, and
Wow.
I'd have to stop. So I
Yeah.
started using the lift because I'd sort of be holding up the stairs because I'd sort of go, I just need to stop. Sorry, I know I'm in the way, but I need to breathe. And it was kind of like, I can breathe. I'm good at breathing, which sounds, things you take, like if you've got a sore throat, suddenly you go, oh, isn't swallowing amazing? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm good at breathing.
You're giving yourself a pep talk.
Yeah, it's like I was in choirs as a kid, and we'd be told, "Oh, breathe from the diaphragm." I didn't know what that was, but I did anyway. Or like if you wanted a balloon blown up, I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll blow up your balloon. I'll blow up your airbed. Check me and my breathing."
Yes.
And yeah, skills. And suddenly I couldn't do that, and I found I couldn't take a full breath, and yeah, it was really bizarre, and I had to sort of cut back on what I was doing, and it's like, and I did completely the wrong thing, to be honest, which was, right, I'm going to push through, I'm going to try and do it, and then I go, oh, why do I feel awful the day afterwards? And it's like, like sometimes when you exercise, it's a couple of days later that it hits you, and it's kind of like
Sure.
that. It's like, oh, why is it that I overdo it on a Wednesday and then on Friday I feel dreadful? It's like maybe there's some link, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
yeah, I'd not picked up on that, and it was only when I went on Twitter and it was someone who had ME, and she said, "Have you heard of PEM?" And I was like, what's PEM? And she said, oh, it's post-exertion malaise. And it's after you overdo it, you get like flu-like symptoms, like your throat will really hurt, you'll feel tired, you'll feel achy. And I was like, yeah, I get that all the time. I thought I was just coming down with bugs because like my immune system, maybe it's not that great since I've been ill. I assumed I was just ill all the time. And she said, right, look at it, see if there's a pattern. And it's one of those things, once I looked at it, I went, oh yeah. But I'd
Wow.
if it hadn't been suggested, I'd never have picked up on it. But I started sort of looking at a calendar, and I sort of days where I'd done more than usual and days where I felt terrible. And it's like, oh, okay.
That had to be a sense of relief that there's someone else going through these symptoms and you're not crazy. That this is really something.
Well, yeah, and also it's if I know what the pattern is, I can start to manage that. Where if
Sure.
it's I was used to doing what I used to do, and it's
Mhm.
like there was part of me. It's like like a reverse imposter syndrome. And it's like, what if I'm not really ill? What if I'm just lazy?
Right.
And I think I was very much in that. It was like, well, if I wanted to and I tried a bit harder, I could do everything I used to.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't. But I sort of, once I saw these patterns, it was like, oh, okay, this is impacting my health. And it's
Yeah.
meaning that I have to write off most of my week in order to do too much for 3 days, sort of thing. And
Yeah.
you wouldn't choose that trade-off, generally speaking. So it's
No.
and I found this great app. So I've got a tracker that tracks my heart rate and heart rate variation, so it can work out when I'm overdoing it and warn
Oh.
me. It's kind of like spoon theory.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, so it tracks how many spoons I have left in the day. And I think of the spoons as spoons of energy. So it's like I've got 3 scoops of energy left, sort of
Oh,
thing.
that's a nice way to think of it.
And it just makes sense to me that way. So
Yes.
it sort of works out, this is what's normal for you, and this is how much energy you personally have.
Mhm.
And I found that a 3-hour class would wipe me out, whereas I used to do it without thinking. um, Suddenly 3 hours of teaching, that's my energy for the day, and
Okay.
I can't teleport to work, and I need to eat before and after and have a shower and all those things. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, that's not going to work. So I
Right.
said, do you know what, I'll start doing 2-hour classes instead of 3.
Mhm.
And to be honest, my students didn't mind. They said, honestly, 3 hours can be a bit long anyway. And
Sure.
I think it was also sort of helping to accommodate those students as well, especially because I was starting to work a bit more remotely.
Yeah.
And a lot of the students who, again, signed up to things remotely were ones who maybe didn't have the health to get into town and go to their local college or whatever else.
Sure, yeah.
And, it's also all the people who hadn't been served before COVID who were told, oh, well, you can't do things remotely and we can't give you technology to make your life easier. And guess what? They could. And they could have
Yes,
done it all
right?
along. But
We learned a lot about that.
yeah, well, that was the thing. But then there was no excuse. They could say, well, do you know what? We can do this. Actually, it's making it easier for a lot of people, and also people who
Sure.
might have anxiety or agoraphobia and not want to go outside. If
Right.
you can do things through your computer, or, we're in completely different parts of the world and we can talk to each other, and it's sort of
Right.
all those things that wouldn't have been possible without being able to do things online. It's like, oh, okay, we can do this. This works, and we can be a bit flexible with timing, and also not everything has to be 9 to 5, because not everyone is a morning person. And
Right.
I know some
Definitely.
people. Oh, sorry, I interrupted there.
No, no, I said absolutely. People are not morning people, and especially people that are chronically ill. It takes them a minute to get moving in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the thing. It's if something can start in the early afternoon instead, and that means you
Mhm.
can have more leisurely start and you can be in a better place to be able to
Yeah.
take in information,
Yeah.
then honestly, I'm all for it. But there might be other people who are like, oh, I would rather have it in the morning when I've still got energy, because
Yes.
it's and
Everybody's
I
different.
yeah, completely. And there can also be sort of that moral thing as well, that if you're up first thing in the morning, it's because you're a good person. And if you're up later, it's because you're a bad, lazy person. It's like, well,
Right.
people are working the same hours. It doesn't matter when it is. Like,
Doesn't
if the work's
matter.
getting done, then, why is it a problem? And, putting moral values on the time you naturally wake up is so bizarre.
It
It's,
is. It's crazy. But you found that that works for you a lot better managing it because you can take a shower and you need to rest for a couple hours before you have the energy again to do what you need to do for the day. It's all checks and balances when you're sick.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of putting it. It's also sort of assessing each day as it comes, which is another thing I have sort of with the app. Is each morning it's sort of gives you a rating. So sort of red is you're really worn out, take it easy. And green is like, yeah, everything's fine, you know, you're probably all right. So you can sort of look at that and say, okay, maybe I can move things around a bit, or maybe this thing here isn't essential and I can move that and have the
Sure.
flexibility. And one thing I found really helpful actually is I used to have to-do lists that were like a fax roll long. Like honestly, there'd be things on it and they'd be on it the next day and they get pushed to the bottom, and the next day they'd still be on the list. And 3 weeks later, they're still on the list. And you know, when you look at it and think, "Ugh."
Yeah.
And also that thing where, you know, you have the days where you do bits and bobs
Mm-hmm.
and actually you've got loads done, but it's, you know, maybe I spent 15 minutes doing this and I replied to this email that needed doing. But at the end of the day, you go, oh, I've done nothing. So I started doing what's called to-do lists.
Okay.
So it's you put down 3 things that are achievable that actually need to get done, and anything
Okay.
else you put on as a bonus. So it's like, and I also washed some clothes, or phoned that person I needed to phone.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, you can look at it and say, do you know what? I have done things, because it's so easy to underestimate what you've got done
Mm-hmm.
and just feel and look at things you haven't done rather than all the things you have.
Yes,
So
it's very easy to look at the things you haven't done and then you start feeling bad because you're not doing the things you feel like you should do. So I like your 3 things on a list. I wrote that down because I like that. 3 things on
yeah,
the list only.
yeah, it's not my idea, but it's one I will use because it's achievable, and I think
That's a good word, achievable.
yeah, it's there's no point feeling upset about all the things that you haven't done
Hmm.
when um I think we can do ourselves a disservice as well. Um, you know, there can be that thing where it's like, oh, you can do absolutely anything. It's like, well, I couldn't do everything before I was ill. So
That's
it's,
true. That is true.
you know, realistically, I'm not going to become an astronaut. It's not within
Right.
my skill set. And, you know, it doesn't make me a bad person that I'm not an astronaut, because I'm not going to be. And that's not what I'm good at. And I think it's sort of that well-meaning thing where people are like, oh, you can do anything. And it's like,
Well, not really.
yeah, it's like, I think it's like when I did my teacher training, there was a study that looked at self-esteem, and what they'd originally set out to do was to see if increasing self-esteem helped educational outcomes. And I thought, well, of course it will.
Sure.
But the study said, no, actually, there isn't that close of a link. I thought, well, how can that be true?
Right.
And they said what was actually more important was people having a realistic perception of their skills. So rather than being told to say, I don't know, you're great at geometry, and so you go, oh, I'm great at this, I don't have to put the effort in. And then maybe if you come across a problem you can't solve, you don't know how to process that because you're good at geometry and you should know this. Whereas if it's like, okay, you're good at these skills, this is something to work on,
Mhm.
then you know sort of how to divide things up, and it's less
Sure.
you're good, you're bad. It's here's what's going well, here's what to work on. And
Mhm.
sort of when that was in place, that's when people really started to improve.
Mhm.
And I think that's the same sort of assess where you are now. There'll be things that, you know, maybe it's you can't do yet, maybe you'll be able to do in 6 months,
Sure.
maybe it's something you're not going to be able to do. And
Mhm.
it's sort of, well, looking at now, if you can do A, B, and C, then do A, B, and C and be proud of the fact you've done that and you've achieved
Right.
that, rather than saying, oh, well, what about D and E? This other person can do that. It's like, well,
Right. That's so hard for people.
yeah, it is. And it's so demoralizing. And it's sort of, if you're looking back at maybe things you could do before that you can't do now,
Mhm.
that's I think there is a bit of a grieving process with that as well,
Sure.
because maybe had plans, this is where I want to be with my career, or with a certain talent or skill, and maybe that's not there anymore. And you
Right.
have to, or maybe you have to relearn things, which is difficult as well.
Right. And scary.
It is, yeah, it is a bit of a rug pull, because again, we have those perceptions of ourselves, and if it's like, well, I'm good at this, and if suddenly you can't do that thing, it's can be such a huge part of your identity. And I think,
Sure.
yeah, we absolutely need to acknowledge that and say, well, this is something I can't do at the moment, or can't do so well, or have to learn to do differently.
Hmm.
Whether it's, putting your socks on, or like,
Yeah.
I hadn't realised until I went to the physio that I put my socks on in a really odd way, because I can't bend particularly well. And the physio went, "Oh, did you work out a way to do that?" And it's like, "Oh, I hadn't even noticed I'd done that." But
You did it automatically.
yeah, you develop your ways round things. Or it's like, I had no idea I was dyslexic until I went to university, and I was filling out a form to pick modules, and my tutor went, "Oh, you're dyslexic." I said, "No, no, I'm not dyslexic." He said, "You might be. Do you want to go for an assessment?" "Oh." I went for an assessment. I'm really dyslexic, but
Wow. No idea all these years.
no, I did. But it's like, when I was about 14, I had to think about which way round the number four goes.
Okay.
And I just have a mental block on it. Or in an exam, I forgot how to spell the,
Okay.
and no matter how I wrote it, it just looked wrong. But I'd sort of worked out ways around it, and I checked my spelling, because I knew I wasn't great at spelling. And
Hmm.
I just, in my own way, I'd worked out ways to cope with it. And yeah, and I think that's credit. We need things, giving ourselves credit to say, well, actually, you've worked out a way round a problem.
I was
And
gonna say, I mean, good for you. How many people would just kind of curl up into a ball and say, forget about it. I'm not even doing this anymore. And then here you just naturally made it work. I mean,
well,
that's a lot of courage.
oh, I think it is, but I think it's something that, again, you only notice when you look back. And I think that's the value in
Yes.
sort of people looking at, what have I done over the year? Is there something I've achieved, something I've managed? And also sort of asking friends, colleagues, family, because there'll be things you've got used to and you don't think about. But
Right.
it might be someone said, well, do you remember when you couldn't walk up the stairs, and you used to sort of have to sit on the middle step and then go the rest of the way, and now you can do it? Or we forget, as people, we're just, now is normal, sort of thing. And sometimes you forget you have made progress. There are things you could do that you couldn't do before.
Yeah.
Or sometimes people can be absolutely ingenious in sort of ways they've learned to sort of cope with things. Or
Mhm.
whether it's my memory is not great, so I'll put some post-it notes up, or sort of,
Right. Yeah.
or like reminder apps on your phone. There's nothing wrong with using things like that that make it
Hmm.
easier. And it's much better to sort of acknowledge, oh, I struggle with this. These are things I can put in place to help. And there's so many sort of tech solutions that are there. And someone else has had the same problem, and they've said, here's a solution, whether it's, a reminder to drink water, or and once you're into the habit of it, it's fine. But it's sort of getting into the habit and finding out what works for you. Because,
Hmm.
I mean, I've sort of talked about being evangelical about things, and there's things that I love and I swear by that other people would say, well, I don't understand the logic there. I don't like that idea. It's,
Right. Right.
yeah, it's we are all so different, and we're all in different places. And I don't think there's anything wrong with trying things as well, and saying, no, not for me, it didn't work,
Right.
I didn't like it, it didn't feel comfortable. And again, there's a bit of bravery with that, being prepared to try something.
Hmm.
It's if someone thinks they're not techie, and they're like, oh, I don't know about using an app, well, give it a try. I mean, if you
Yeah.
hate it, delete the app, goodbye app,
Hmm.
it's gone. Uh, um Yeah, just it's we don't know what's out there. We don't know what we don't know, and I think that's sometimes informal conversations I've had at networking meetings or with a friend. They've said, "Oh, have you tried this?"
Mhm.
No, but I'll give it a go, and
Right. That is the power of social media. I mean,
mm,
honestly, I love social media to connect with others going through the same struggles. And people come up with like the simplest ideas that you're
mm,
like, wow, I should try that. Or meditation. At first I was like, I'm not going to meditate. Like, that's silly, and now it's like, wow, it really calms my nervous system. So I'm not constantly in that fight or flight mode.
mhm.
And it just gives me a minute to just take a deep breath, relax, and then start again, whatever it may be, whatever time of day. And you get some really good ideas from people going through the same struggles.
Yeah, definitely. I think the best ideas are the ones that as soon as you hear them, you go, "Oh, yeah, that's obvious," but you wouldn't have thought of
Right,
it.
right, there's simple things and you're like, "Why didn't I think of that?"
Yeah, it's wonderful things out there, and just
Mhm.
the level of ingenuity of people putting things together because they have to, and it's
Right.
like if it can help someone else, um, then I'm all for it. Or
Mhm.
people sharing things like journal layouts, or if there's something that's worked for you, it's like I mean, obviously not if it's copyrighted. I'm not talking about sharing someone else's material or anything, but if
Right,
you
right.
know if it's
There's a
like I
lot
can
of
have it.
things to help, so many things to help if you're willing.
Yeah, I think that's another thing, giving it a go. It's like you said, there are things that can seem strange, or it's also sort of that beginning point that you talked about meditation. For some people, it might be, start with a short guided visualization
Mhm.
or something shorter. And also sort of that, I think that's one where if you're sort of following audio or something, it may be the first person you come across, like you don't like their voice and you find it a bit jarring, or they're a bit too perky for you. And
Right.
there's so many options out there, and it doesn't have to be like, back in the day when you get an hour long tape that you'd listen to the whole tape. And
I still have those tapes.
I mean, I'm not saying they're all bad, but
I
it's like,
know. I have, tapes like that. Yeah, there's just so much stuff to help.
yeah, like there's just sort of 5 minute meditations on YouTube that can be, try it, see if it helps. And, most people
Sure.
can spare 5 minutes, whereas
Mhm.
an hour might be a bit of a time commitment or an energy commitment as well. So
Yes, definitely.
yeah, it's sort of finding the right options. And also sometimes I think having the courage to say, no, that didn't work for me. Or sometimes you kind of want things to work, especially if it sounds like it's quite a neat solution, or there might be something that works for someone else that works for you. And like I'm a huge fan of sort of electrolytes,
Mhm.
because I found I would drink so much water and still feel thirsty. And someone said, "Oh, have you tried taking electrolytes?" And it's like, "Oh, yeah, because I've washed all the nutrients out of my body
Ri
by drinking,
Yeah, good
20
idea.
glasses a day or whatever." So it's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, yeah." But there might be someone else who tries that and goes, "Oh, actually," and you do have to sort of look at other things. If you're really taking a multivitamin, possibly, and then you're taking more magnesium, and maybe you've got a sleep thing that also has magnesium in, then
Mhm.
you do need to be careful, because you can definitely have too much of a good thing. So
Of course, of course.
that, and there are some people out there who are absolute charlatans as well. So
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
yeah, there's certainly things I've come across, and it's like that doesn't. As soon as someone says cure, and it's like, "Oh, I can cure your migraines," it's like, "Oh, so I'll never have migraine again." Oh no, well, it's not a cure then. Or it's like, "Have
Yes.
you tried this magic milkshake?" And it's like, does it come with magic beans as well? Because
Yes. I know, I know. Everybody wants to cure you.
Yeah, it's well, that's another thing. I think accepting that, this is a long-term condition or an injury that's going to take a while to recover,
Mhm.
and there isn't a quick fix, and there are things that can help, and there's things I'm prepared to try, but also sort of going into things and say, well, this might not work, and
Mhm.
that that can be a difficult part of it, 'cause if you
Sure.
really want something to work and other people have said, oh, it's great, and it doesn't work for you, that's difficult. But if you consider it, that's okay, that's nothing I've ticked off the list, that's getting me closer to the thing that will work. And as
Right,
long
that's true. That's a good way to look at it.
you're not spending a fortune though, because you
Right,
can go
yeah.
scattergun. It's like, I'm going to try everything, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh well, this is only $20, and this, but when you add it up, it's like, actually that's a lot. And
Yes.
and if you start too much at once, sometimes it's hard to tell what actually helped.
Right, that's true too.
So it can be sort of, like, New Year, I'm going to try all these things all at once, or over the summer, I'm going to try all these things. But then it's like, well, I don't know. It's having a benefit, but I don't know which bit's having a benefit. Or
Correct.
sometimes it's like, is it because I'm sleeping better because I'm considering my health a bit more? And
Mhm.
is the sleep, could that explain it? Or it's it's so complex, isn't it? Your health and
It is, and you're constantly searching for better things to help you. It's like a multi eh, problem because you're working with your doctor, you're trying to get things to help you, you're trying to get people to believe you because you can't
yeah,
see it. You don't want people thinking you're crazy, but you have this real invisible illness, and it's hard for people to relate when they can't see it, and you've got your makeup on, you've got your hair done, and they don't know that that took 3.5 hours. You
yeah,
know?
that's the thing. If it's like, if people see you out, they don't realize that's probably one of your best days because you were able to get out. And
Mhm.
that, and it's some terms can be a bit overused, like people can sort of talk about trauma, and it's like, okay, that was an upsetting thing, but it's not actually trauma.
Yeah.
Or people can talk
Trauma
about,
and triggers.
oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. Oh, I was so triggered because you like a different basketball team to me.
Right.
No, no, you weren't. Absolutely. And I'm very glad you weren't actually triggered, because it's awful. But yeah, it's there's things people know, so it lacks meaning. Or things like fatigue, someone can say, oh, I'm fatigued, and it's like, oh well, if you have a nap, and it's like, no, 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 I can't think because I'm so tired, I can't form a coherent sentence. Or
And you can take a nap and you'll still get up and feel the same fatigue. Whereas everybody else can take a nap and they're energized, ready to go again. And we take a nap and we're like, oh my gosh, I could sleep 12 more hours.
yeah, my friend is the queen of power naps. Like, she can set her alarm for 20 minutes, she'll go have a snooze, come back 20 minutes later, and it's like, that's a power, like, I can't fall asleep in 20 minutes.
No,
I
me
don't
neither.
I absolutely can't compute it. It's like, do you know what? That's amazing.
That
But
is very lucky.
yeah, it's like, if you can do it, absolutely
Mhm,
great. I'm all for it. And I am all for sort of, taking naps when you need to. But
mhm.
it's also one of those things you don't necessarily know until you've experienced it. It's like, you could hear symptoms and go, oh, well, that sounds awful.
Mhm.
But until you actually experience it, it's like, oh, okay. It's
Yes, yes.
yeah, it's like, you can hear about brain fog, but then when you can't think of a simple word, and or sometimes I'll say the wrong word and not realize I've said it. And
Right.
um yeah, it's we actually had an Ofsted inspection, which are the school inspectors in the UK, and they sort of come around to check your teaching.
Mhm.
And I was doing something on childcare, and I meant to say children, but I said goats.
Oh,
I said, oh, so how do you make sure the goats are safe? And my students were all looking at me going, what?
oops.
And so they said, you just said goats. I was like, no, I didn't.
Oh,
And then it's like,
no.
oh, I did, didn't I? And maybe I was thinking like kids, or I don't know, but yeah, completely the wrong words. They had no idea what I was talking about. I was getting frustrated because I was like, why haven't they
How did that
responded?
happen in my brain?
Yeah, yeah, or it's yeah, with the migraines I used to forget words, and
Mm.
I sent a message to ask someone to put something in the register. I couldn't remember the word for register, so I went, the people name list in the book. I
Oh,
could not think of the word, and it's
right,
yeah, if you've not experienced that, it's such a bizarre thing. But
right. It is.
yeah, it's oh, I'm quite fortunate in a way. I've got my two business besties who are also Spoonies, so
Oh, that's awesome. Some support all the time for you.
yeah, we are an inbuilt support group, and we're very good at sort of saying to the other two, right, take a rest, take a break, take it
Oh,
easy.
that's lovely.
And
That is so nice.
it is a wonderful thing because we get it, and we also give each other the grace that we don't give ourselves, which
Oh, yeah. That's really a good point too. We're so hard on ourselves.
yeah, I think if our internal monologue, if we said it to anyone else, we'd be shocked that we were
Ah,
hearing that.
we'd
Because
be in an
it's
asylum.
just, and it's like, yep, yep, I said that to myself. And yeah, that's especially if if you have intrusive, or those automatic thoughts, and that nasty automatic thought, and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, that's not you, that's something that's been put in your head, and the thought you have after that is the real thought. But it's yeah, that's it. It's difficult because we're not horrible people, but the way sometimes we speak to ourselves is,
Yes, that is such a good point.
it's when it becomes automatic, or
Right.
and again, we know it's not right because we wouldn't say it to anyone else.
Correct, right, just to ourselves.
Yeah, but it's like we live in our head all the time, and the
Mhm.
amount of negativity you can give to yourself, sort of going, "Oh, well, you're lazy. If you tried harder, if you did better, if
Yes, all the things like that.
yeah, it's especially when it becomes habits. That's it's sometimes you can look back at something, or like how everyone remembers that nasty teacher who told them they
Yes,
weren't autistic, or they weren't good at math, or there's always
right.
something, and
Mhm.
that sticks in your head, and sort of
Forever,
that.
yeah.
And it's like, I know someone who was told she wanted to be a lawyer, and she was told, "Oh, you're too stupid to be a lawyer." Like, you're too stupid. Why
Yeah.
would you say that to a child?
Right, it's emotional abuse, actually.
Yeah, it's well, if that child called another child stupid, you wouldn't accept that. But it's,
Correct. No,
or sometimes you can throw away things. It's like you might have a well-meaning relative or something, or
mhm.
it's things that just stick in your head, and you sort of go, oh, or sometimes someone didn't even mean it. It's just the way it came across was. Or sometimes you can twist something in your head. Someone said something neutral, and it's like, oh, well, they obviously hate me because they said that, and it's
Yeah. Correct, yeah, definitely, definitely. We definitely have to take better care of ourselves and the way we talk to ourselves.
yeah, it's it's difficult. I mean, and sometimes it's difficult to notice, but yeah, if you imagine saying those things to someone else, then you suddenly go, oh, yeah,
Right.
because I wouldn't have said that. I wouldn't have said that out loud. I wouldn't have said that to another person. I probably wouldn't have even thought it about another person. But
Right. You should not think like that about yourself. It just brings you down more and more, like you're a failure when you keep talking to yourself like that.
yeah, and those sort of words that, even if you say it so often that you think, oh, surely it's lost meaning, it still has meaning, and
It does. Over time, it starts just being brainwashed in a way that you keep hearing that from yourself.
Oh, yeah, 'cause confirmation bias is so
Mhm.
strong. It's like, if you spoke to 100 people and one of them didn't like you, it's like, "Oh, well, no one likes me."
Yes, yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you co-host a podcast about running a business with chronic illness?
Yes, yeah, we're called Three Spoonies, and, well, we set it up because there were lots of podcasts about business, and there are some podcasts about disability, but there wasn't any crossover really.
Mhm.
And we know so many people who've started businesses, often because employers wouldn't accommodate them, which
Oh, okay.
or if people were too ill to do things they were doing before, they've started businesses, and it's sort of seen as an easy option. Oh, just start up your own business. You can work your own hours, and it's like, well, yes, you can, but you still need to make money, and there's a huge learning curve with it that people
Right.
don't tell you. And it's like, you know, for each success story you see, you don't know how much prep went into that.
Right.
And also, a lot of advice is for people who don't have chronic illnesses, and a lot of business books or mindset books.
Mhm.
They're all like, go out there, do it, get it done. But there's not
Right.
that caveat, if you can, when you can, or do it differently, or outsource things, or,
You're right. They want you to 24/7 is business. You're not going to sleep. Not going to
yeah, yeah, yeah,
eat. You're
yeah.
going to be at your desk and you are just going to work until this business is successful. It's like, well,
Yeah,
what
and
about us?
well, absolutely that, and you absolutely can't pour from an empty cup. And if you've exhausted yourself because you're doing like this hustle, you know,
Right.
got to be grinding, got to be doing stuff all the time. And it's like, well, at that point, if you're following the exact model of someone else,
Mhm.
it's almost like you've become an employee again, because,
Oh, that's true. Yes.
you're doing it exactly in the way that they would, and that may not work for you. It might be that a full work day is exhausting, but you could do it in chunks.
Yeah.
Or it might be you do half days, and that works better. Or it might be you have days when you feel creative, so you do creative bits, and you sort of
Mhm.
break it down. It's
Our whole life is a balancing game from this point on, or from when we got sick and moving forward. This is just our life now. It's balancing, it's talking nicely to ourselves, things you really have to learn or relearn.
yeah, and also boundaries are a big thing. If
Oh,
you're
that's a
working
big
with
one.
clients, and they're like, well, I need it done now, and it's like, that's nice, but if you sort of make it clear from the beginning,
Right.
I do have a chronic illness. I
Mhm.
can do things by agreed deadlines, but I don't respond to emails outside of these hours, or I don't accept last minute tasks, or if someone says, "Oh, could you just?"
Mm.
As soon as someone says that, I'm like, right, I'm adding 20% straight away, because any "could you just" is going to take a lot longer than we both think.
Right, for sure. That's funny. Can you just? No. Yeah, that is very true. As soon as someone says that, it's like, well, there you go. That's another hour.
Yeah, and that's, things may take longer than they used to,
Mhm.
which is another thing to get used to, when you're planning out how long things take. I find generally they take longer than I think anyway, but sort of time things, if you're charging, say, by the hour, work out how much you can feasibly do in an hour. And obviously, you might
Right.
have worse days than better days, but if you can kind of average it out,
Mhm.
and also see how you like to work, which is a huge revelation, because I think we're so used to being at school and having this is first period, second period, this is what we're doing, and
Mhm.
chunks, and we get used to doing that and feeling comfortable with that, but it may not be the best way for you to work. It might be you like doing similar tasks together.
Mhm.
And, like if you're sort of on a roll with something, it can be easier to keep going with that. Or it might be there's some tasks that you find really tiring, so you need to spread them out, or you don't want to do that as well, which can be another thing that you think, this is going to be the main focus of what I do, and you go into it and go, actually, I quite like this bit, and I'd like to do a bit less
Yes.
of that, and yeah, because you don't necessarily know, and there may be things that are mentally exhausting that you can be honest with yourself and say, actually, I don't like that. That's a bit much. I'd really
Yeah.
rather not. It's all these things you don't realize it's okay to say, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't do that.
Ooh, that's so hard to do.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's sort of easy to say in a conversation like this, but it's like, am I sort of potentially turning down money? Am I being overly fussy? And it's like, well, no, happiness, quality of life matters, and
Yes.
maybe it's just not the best fit. So,
Right.
it's sort of finding your way with it, and yeah, boundaries definitely. I think there are things we put up with in business and work that we wouldn't put up with in personal relationships,
Right.
and yeah, I think we need to feel more ready to say this isn't acceptable. I'm not okay with this. This is not what we agreed,
Yeah.
and that's okay, because to be honest, if you lose a difficult client, probably a good thing in the long term, or I
Right,
don't
that
know.
would just exhaust you and make things worse for you physically and mentally. So yeah, it's you got to have boundaries and you got to say no, and you even if you start taking baby steps to say no, it will benefit your body and your brain later.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also not a positive thing. I think we see it as a positive thing that we're stepping up and, helping out. And it's like, but why are we doing that? And sometimes you sort of look
Right.
at some of the people pleasing behavior, and it's actually quite unhealthy. And it can be more that I'm afraid of rejection rather than,
Absolutely.
and that is something that we all do need to look at. And, some of
Absolutely.
us, it may not be an issue, but I think we're sort of brought up to be good and be polite and be nice. And that can be sort of so ingrained that it can actually become something unhealthy, when it's kind of like you can never say no, you can never have boundaries. You need to make yourself ill doing something that no one else is prepared to do. And
Mhm.
it's not worth it. And again, it's hard, and like you said, sometimes it is practice at sort of saying no. Or one tip I was told is have a little pause before you say yes,
Yes,
and sort of say,
exactly.
is this actually realistic? Is it something I want to do? And sometimes just having that pause makes you go, actually, I'm not going to say yes.
Yeah, I know that. Yes, that is definitely some good advice.
Yeah, it's sort of that also muscle memory thing, isn't it? Where it's kind of like, oh, I'll do it, and yeah, just that moment to pause and reflect and say, well, actually, I'm really busy this month, or
Or I
I've
have
done
to
it the
take
last
care of
couple of times and no one
myself.
helped, and yeah, I mean, if doing that means you can't do something else that you need to do or really want to do, then
Right.
because that's the thing, that's sort of, there's also that opportunity cost, and it's, I did that thing, it only took half an hour, but it meant I didn't have the energy to do this other thing. Or
Right.
it's there's always something, and there's also sometimes value in not doing anything in particular, or just having an evening off, or a bit
Mhm.
of me time, or a bit of self-care. And I've started to put,
Self-care is so
oh
important, especially when, you're doing day-to-day things. You really have to pause and take care of yourself. Even the little
yeah,
things you have to do, like a bath with Epsom salts, or, a
oh
little
gosh,
bit of
yeah.
light stretching, or just something for yourself that really pays off, just the little things.
Yeah, I started to put it in my diary, because if things are in my diary, I do them. Whereas otherwise, it'll be like, oh, I'll just do this and just do this and just do this, and
Mhm.
then the thing doesn't happen. And yeah, like you said, stretching as well. It's I have one of my students taught some excellent stretches to do. So when we have sort of a screen break during a lesson, it's like, right, let's grab some water, we'll do the stretches,
Oh,
and
wow. You have
Yeah,
such a good support group.
as I said, I'm really fortunate actually that I've got a lot of people around me who know their staff, and
And understand you. That's huge. They understand you.
yeah, I do acknowledge I'm very, very fortunate in that, and not everyone has that, but it's also learning what you need. It's I was speaking at an event, and by US scale it's like probably in the same state it would be like a tiny distance, but by British scale it was quite a way away. So my business besties came to support me, and we went up and stayed in a hotel the night before, got a decent night's sleep. So the next morning, I wasn't stressed because I had to get there first thing and whatever else.
And you were ready to go because you took care of yourself.
Yeah, and obviously there was a cost to stay in the hotel and whatever else, but
Mhm.
it meant not having to rush there first thing in the morning and being stressed because what the train was like, or what this happened, or what if I got lost. And it's like, right, we're already there, we know what works.
That's really, really nice. And a lot of people, when they get hit with these chronic illnesses later in life, they push everybody away because
Mm.
they self-isolate. And you've got friends who are sticking by you. They won't let you isolate. It sounds like you've got really good
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah, I think finding that support network wherever you can, and like I said, sometimes it's social media or groups, and again, finding the ones with the right vibe for you, because some might
Yes.
be a bit too perky, or people who read like what Katie did when they were little. I don't know if you it's sort of what Katie did was fall off a swing, hurt her ankle, and moan about it, but become a better person because of her ankle injury later. And there's some people like, oh, I'm so grateful for my illness, and I'm like, I'm not grateful. I would rather not have the illness. But
Right.
it's I think you have to find people who have a similar sense of humor as much as anything.
You
It's
have to have a sense of humor when you're dealing with chronic illness. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think sometimes you need to step outside a situation and say, do you know what, this is bizarre, or because sometimes you're so stuck in, if you're waiting for a diagnosis or something like that, can feel
Yeah.
like it's taking forever. And to be able to step outside that, or have someone else who's been there and said, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it took this long and this happened. And
Sure, yeah.
also that perspective. It's, sometimes when something terrible happens and you go, we'll laugh about this later, but now it's awful.
Yes, absolutely. So, what is the best advice you would give somebody that has chronic illness that wants to start their own business?
um, I'd say it's got to be something you really love, and that works with the skills you naturally have. Um, it might be you're really organized, so you're able to plan things. It might be that you're really creative, you can come up with ideas other people don't. And yeah, it's got to be something you care about, because it's going to take a lot of your time, probably more time than you think. Um, but also get networking, meet people, make connections, even if it's people who do something similar to you. And it's like, oh, aren't they competition? It's like, well, if you view it like that, yes, but it may be you can refer back and forth because you do slightly different things, you have a different emphasis. It's also, as you go along, you'll find what makes you you, and what you think is your greatest skill might not be what people pick up on. Like someone I know, she said, oh, well, I'm a VA because I'm really organized. And she is, but that's sort of being a VA. But people said, no, do you know what we like about you? You explain everything. You make it so I understand what you're doing and why you're doing that. And people kept saying that. And she went, oh, okay. And that's when you find out sort of what your niche is, what you do differently.
Mhm.
And I think that's wonderful. And I think learning about what makes people tick is so valuable. Um,
Sure.
in terms of, you know, someone might be an accountant, but there might be one accountant who loves when all the numbers match, and that's what's important to them. Someone else might go, oh, I love supporting businesses, giving them advice. And it's sort of finding the one that fits. And it's sort of, if you get to know people, then you sort of get to know, right, this person will work really well with this person, and you can refer exactly the right person to them, but also who's best to work with. And I sort of love when I meet people saying, well, what do you love about what you do? And, when you see someone's face light up and you're sort of like, okay, I get you. I get where you're coming from. Either I think we work together, or I don't think we could, but I know someone who would get on with you. Things like that. It's also, don't expect to make a fortune straight away, because you probably won't. It takes time and more effort than you'd imagine. And there'll be some people who are influencers online, and maybe they started 20 years ago when it's easier to grow an audience, or they've already done the hard work and they've forgotten that bit.
Right.
Also, sort of get to know other startups, because it may be you can do a skill swap if you've not got a lot of cash, but if you could say, well, I've got this skill, I can do this to you if you'll do this in return. So I had someone who took some photos for me, and in return, I helped them with some writing they needed. That can be a great way to sort of connect with people and also get things for free or cheaper if you've not got a lot of money starting up.
I really enjoyed our talk today. It was really, really nice. I got a lot of good ideas to put down for people. Like, I really love your 3 things on a list. I mean, that really stuck out to me because I've never heard that one before, and it's attainable for anyone to put three things down on a list for the day, whether it's just, making the bed, something simple, or making dinner.
Yes.
Just little things that that you can do, which is the best point of that. It's 3 things that you can do, not, 3 things like, I'm gonna paint the house and I'm gonna, do the
Yeah.
gardening, and,
Yeah.
you can't put crazy things on there, but 3 things that you can do that day. I love that.
Thank you. And thank you for having me as well.
Is there any last things you would like to talk about before we wrap it up?
Um, I think just find your support networks, and also be honest with your loved ones as well if you are having a tough time. Sometimes we feel like we have to be brave all the time, and
Yes.
it's okay to say, do you know what, I'm having a rubbish day, or actually I'm really anxious about this doctor's appointment, things like that. People
Communication is
do
so big.
care. Yeah, and even if people don't fully understand, if that means they allow you a little more grace, or they're a bit more supportive, or, maybe they can help in some way that you'd not thought. It's, yeah, be honest, keep communication lines open, and don't feel you have to be perfect all the time, because none of us are.
Very true. Yes, nobody's perfect.
Mm,
And we need to have grace for everyone too. Everyone could be
absolutely.
going through something and you don't know it, just like invisible illnesses. You just don't know what someone's going through.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's sort of whatever happens today might be the final straw. It may be there's been weeks or months of things leading up to that that we don't know about. So,
Right.
again, it is okay to say, I'm feeling, a bit sensitive today. And,
And be
you know,
nice. Be nice to me. I'm not.
yeah, it's like, I think there was something to be said for in Victorian times where people would wear black and have a year of mourning, and everyone would be nicer to you because they knew you were mourning, which,
Yeah.
we don't have now. And, it's almost like if you could have a pin badge or something with like an emoji or something on, like, I'm feeling really rough today, please be
Right.
nice. I think that would be great, actually. Maybe we need to introduce that as a thing, or, like those wristbands or something, or sort of a
Right.
color coded thing or something. I feel there should definitely be like a universally
Mhm.
recognized thing.
Yeah, not like that pain scale.
Yes. Yeah. It's the number of people I've seen have looked at the pain scale and have gone, oh, oh, okay. It's not just like you've got a little bit of an owie. And it's like, no,
I
it's not
know.
that.
I know that pain scale's crazy. But well, Karen, I really appreciated meeting you today. You are just absolutely lovely.
So much.
Thank you, Karen. Have a great week.
Yeah, and you take care. Bye bye.